It's high noon.
And welcome to episode number 151 of High Noon Podcast. I am Deathblow, not normally the voice you're used to hearing at the start of these episodes, but nonetheless, here I am, and I've got a special guest with me to help me fill in for the Blevins, as we're going to be getting into a little bit about what he's doing actively right now. He's already in the call for that, but Iplaigames is with me from Ominic Lab, from OWL Recap, from a lot of your Overwatch podcasting platforms, or shows, I should say. The guy's all over the place. How you doing today, Andres?
Hey man, how's it going? It's been a minute since I've been around the show, and glad to be back.
I know. I think it was Halloween, actually. It was the annual crossover that the two shows do. Was the last time we were, I think, talking on the same show at the same time.
That's right. That's right.
Though it's only been like 12 hours since we've been in a Discord call. But that's par for the course.
That hasn't been too long.
No, it's not. It never is with us. It seems to be, but that's good because you get to carry me in a lot of these games that aren't Overwatch that I'm bad at. So I appreciate that.
There you go. You get to carry me in Overwatch. So
right. Well,
it works out.
Yeah. There's a balancing act to it for sure. All right, but let's move right along here. I forgot to do it at the beginning because it's Blevins' job, and as we all know, when he's not here and something goes wrong, it's his fault. So today's episode is brought to you by the Community Countdown, which brings us right into our housekeeping and why Blevins isn't here. He is actually part of the Community Countdown broadcast tonight, happening on twitch.tv/ChanmanV. He's going to be doing either analysis or commentary. I wasn't 100% sure after talking with him, and I'm nervous enough for him. I didn't want to keep bothering him about it, make him even more nervous, but they're doing some 1v1 matches today, I play, and he's going to be with Lemon Kiwi and a bunch of the other casters and things like that are there, part of that broadcast. So make sure you guys check that out. As soon as we're off the air, we'll be hosting that channel, so you can just stay right here. After Foul Play tonight, we'll move you right over into the Community Countdown. If we do overlap a little bit, we're gonna just check it out in VOD form. It will definitely be there, I'm sure. We might as well take a quick second. You watched any of the Community Countdown that's been going on this week?
No, I haven't had a chance.
Yeah.
Why don't you give me the recap?
Okay, the recap is it's happening, and that's about all there is as far as takeaways go from it. So the beginning, the first 2 days, which are what have happened already, were kind of billed as scrims, right? So it was like we're going to get a chance to really see what's going on with these teams. The results might not matter. They're not going to show you their in-depth strategies or anything like that on camera, but we did kind of think maybe, they'd be playing Overwatch, and what came out was like Jonak playing Reinhardt, and you know what I mean? Just like all these really off the wall things that didn't even remotely resemble scrims. So they kind of changed it in the middle of it to be mystery heroes, and thus disqualified me from having any interest in it whatsoever. So I do think the one thing that's actually super compelling is obviously there's going to be, if you're a big fan of Overwatch streamers, tomorrow there's going to be the talent and streamers are going to be kind of shuffled together, mixed into some teams, and they're going to do something similar to
very cool,
the talent takedown from the All-Star game. So that's tomorrow, but then the 1v1 battles I think are actually pretty much the peak of competition and competitiveness of what we'll get from the preseason here, the Community Countdown. Sorry, Nate, I know you don't want it called a preseason for this reason, I'm sure. So props to Nate for kind of seeing that coming a little bit. But
now that you mention it, though, I did see the tweet from Nate. He sounded a little bit disappointed that the games kind of panned out the way they did, but to be fair, what did they expect, right? It's like, hey, reveal all of your strategies before the game that actually counts.
I certainly see both sides of it, and honestly, I'm not super upset about the whole thing. And I feel like I'm somebody that would be pretty upset about it. Like, no, I wanted to watch scrims, damn it! Like that's kind of my normal way of thinking about it. And I do feel that a little bit, but at the same time, like you said, they were never going to actually show us anything, anyways. And at the end of the day, what I think this might have done is detracted some of the Discord conversations that I was bound to be having over the next 3 days or whatever about this team looked great, but they beat them, like they beat New York. How can you say it's like, well, it's a scrim, man? Like, did they look in the same tier mechanically against each other? That's the kind of thing you can take from scrims, and so it's not a whole lot lost. But at the end of the day, I'm so ready for the competitive Overwatch. I just want the season to start. Like I'm done with all of the rest of it.
Yeah.
But there should be some really good opportunities to see some of the new guys, some of the old guys. I don't know a lot of the 1v1 matchups that are happening tonight. I'm sure Blevins would, but again, he's busy getting that set up and getting ready for that. The one I do know is Surefour versus Pine in an Ashe 1v1. So there's going to be some big names in these things. Hopefully some of the new guys as well will get a chance to just see them stack up mechanically, at least, against some other Overwatch League competition.
Yeah, that should be pretty exciting. It's too bad that some of the teams didn't even take this time to maybe play their like B squad. Like, in like regular sports, when you have like a friendly match, at least in soccer, this happens all the time. But when like two big teams have a friendly match between them, a lot of the times they don't play their star player, right? Like they don't want it to get injured or it's not worth it for them. But they still play seriously, at least in that sense. But they're playing with their B squad and maybe giving them a chance to shine. I'm excited about the 1v1s though. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where, like, in esports, you don't really have the same injury risk associated with something like the preseason, so why not put the starters out there? But they're also, like, these teams aren't carrying full backup squads, right? So you're not even, like, giving these guys an opportunity to shine on stage or something like that, and maybe that's a problem that would be better solved by these teams actually having backups. But I don't want to get too far into the conversations we're going to have in a little bit here. The rest of this week for High Noon Podcast, it's a big one. We've got Blackwatch Report rolling along, doing all your Tier 2 content. Make sure you guys check them out. They have their own Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Blackwatch Report, I believe. Maybe Report, like their Twitter. I don't know. We'll have to get confirmation on that. They're just in my followed list, and they should be in yours too. So make sure you guys follow them so you know when they go live. We have Foul Play tonight. My PC is back and running, as you might have guessed, because I'm sitting here hosting the show, and it looks like it did previously in the background and everything. So my PC's back. That means Foul Play is back. We won't have Blevins, but again, A. Smith and I will be helping you guys set your Week 1 rosters for Fantasy Overwatch League. And also we have Around the Payload. It is confirmed for tomorrow. That is February 12th. We are going to be having Slasher, Fish Sticks, and Volamel, with a maybe on Hexagrams, who's got like a pre-production, not audition, but rehearsal kind of a thing going on, something like that. He's up in the air. I might be a fill-in. Somebody else might fill in. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully Hexagrams finds a way to make it, and we're able to bring you guys that star-studded cast for the return of Around the Payload. Okay, so that wraps up not quite wrapping up the housekeeping. Last bit of news here was we have the official High Noon Podcast Pick'em Leagues on highnoon.gg. Also, there is a Foul Play Unlimited League for you fantasy players. You guys can join both of those. Obviously, there's no entry fee. We will be adding prizes to them. They're not currently up. Things have just been kind of crazy. But as we settle into the season, we'll put some prizes up. You guys know from last year, you're looking at jerseys, hats, maybe OWL tokens, things like that. So we will have to wait and see exactly what we put up for the prizes there. Also, the power ranking contest. You have to get the matches in before the start of get your power rankings in before the start of matches on the 14th. When the first game starts, I will go in and lock the channel, and Blevins will disqualify anybody and everybody that has submitted since, whatever the start time is. I forgot to look exactly, but 7 o'clock presumably. I don't know. They got a lot of Overwatch to play each day, so they're probably going to start around then. But all right, so that brings us along. Iplay, it's a little bit of a different segment for you, but what have you been up to lately? I'll kind of fill people in on what I did this week when you're done here.
For the people who follow me, they know that I've been finishing school. I've been kind of a little bit away from video games and content creation in general. I took the week off on Omnic Lab and I've been taking some time off, and I will recap too. But now that I'm about to finish, I'm super excited to be coming back to all the content creation. Overwatch League's about to start, so honestly, it couldn't have worked better. Like my last day of school is literally tomorrow. I'm presenting my final project. It was a machine learning project. We've been working on it for like 2 weeks. Definitely not enough to make like a really cool machine learning things, but it was cool enough to get my hands wet on it, or my feet wet on it. So yeah, really cool experience. About to be done with that, and Overwatch League starting. Man, I'm super excited. We got ATL, which I'll be rooting for. That's my hometown over here. I'm super excited to see how the Fran plays out. I know that you don't have much hope in him, but I don't know. We might get a surprise there.
Hey, we definitely could, and we'll be talking more about the Atlanta Reign and all the other teams in a little bit here. But so you're like officially done forever? No more schooling ever after tomorrow? Or is this like this tier of schooling and then we go on to the next level? I just want to know how excited I should be for you.
Well, this with this one, I'm done. It was a 7-month data analysis boot camp, so it wasn't like a full like 4-year degree kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I started it back in last summer at the end of August, and I'm about to finish it today. But you get a certification and the whole thing, so it's pretty official.
Awesome. Well, I will get the champagne bottles ready for us as soon as the episode's done here.
Awesome.
As for myself, I fixed my computer, got that ready to go, and I just gamed all weekend long. I know Iplay, you were with me for a little bit of the Apex Legends grind that I was doing this weekend. Yeah. Trying to decide if I even like the game still. I'm still not 100% sure. What I do know is all my friends are nuts about it, and that makes it kind of easy to group up and kind of easy to jump into for the time being. So I guess we'll give you our usual week by week update on our other games we're playing. But yeah, now that my PC's back, I'm excited to get some of our Overwatch groups going again. Our 6 stacks back up and running, and I'm sure Overwatch League will really just push us all the more into wanting to play a bunch more again.
For sure.
So. All right, so that's going to move us on to the news section of the show. Iplay, you want to do the Blevins job, and instead of pressing a drop button, do your McCree impersonation and say, okay, no, man, we won't ask you to do that.
You don't want my McCree impersonation. That's like the furthest away from McCree.
Well, all I know is I definitely know voice actor, and you're filling in for Blevins, so I feel like that's on you. But no, we'll skip it for this week. Just go right into the news here. Dogman has been signed by the Atlanta Reign. So speaking of your boys here, they added in somebody off of, I believe he was with their academy team prior to this, and now he is going to be called up to their main Overwatch League roster. I know for me personally, this addresses one of what I thought was the biggest concerns that I had for the Atlanta Reign roster, and that was the flex support position. I just don't have much faith in Kodak. Not that I don't think it's possible he does pretty well or surprises me, but just when I'm coming in with a mid-tier prospect like that and starting my team from scratch, I really wanted somebody to basically back him up if he doesn't work out and be there as an option. And now that's something they have. So Iplay, as a fan of the Atlanta Reign, what are your thoughts on the Dogman signing? And do you think there's a much chance he really breaks in and gets any playtime this year?
Dogman is coming from Contenders, right?
Yep.
I've watched him play a couple of times, and he seems like he's able to hang in there. But then again, the only thing that concerns me about the Atlanta roster is that a lot of them are coming in kind of not from that high tier place. You know, they've been playing in like the B side. They're not playing to a huge audience. They're not playing the main stage. And I feel like a lot of them are gonna come in like looking into the other teams as the established players, right? Right? It's like the freshmen in high school. Like everyone has been already hanging out in there. They know how the game goes. And Dogman is like that. He's being able to hang in Contenders, but who knows if he can hang with the big dogs. I think he's a really good player. It's a matter of if he can keep his cool.
Yeah, and if he'd been there from the beginning, I probably would have projected Dogman to be the starter. I do think he's one of the prospects. I was surprised didn't kind of get in for Season 2. Obviously, he did now, but wasn't part of the main wave of signings. So I'm glad they were able to find a spot for him and bring him in. But we don't, I mean, clearly with the late signing, it's unlikely he's been scrimming with them. I wouldn't expect him to play right away, but if Kodak does falter, I think Dogman is somebody that, for my money at least, would have a better chance of really popping off, leveling up, and you know, being a real asset for the team. And like you said, there's a lot of question marks on this team. It's not that all the answers are going to come back negative. It's just we don't know yet. So there's a lot of things we need to see from Atlanta before we can start to think of them as serious contenders or anything like that. But moving on, Iplay, this is where things get a little confusing, or I don't know, not confusing, but it's, if only there was somebody out there that could have seen these problems coming and maybe spent 2 weeks on their show, Iplay, complaining that these guys don't have backups. But the Shanghai Dragons have announced that Fearless is remaining in Korea to start the season in order to recover from a surgery that he had faster. This is their only main tank on the roster. Who needs backups, right, Iplay? Like, that's not a thing. Nobody could have seen this coming, where maybe something pops up and you don't have somebody. So now we're looking at a team that's coming off of an 0-40 season. Arguably, main tank is, at least in my opinion, the most important position for an Overwatch team, as far as driving just the success of the team and really kind of, I mean, everything moves, especially in GOATs and the metas we've been in lately. Like, nobody gets anything done if your Reinhardt doesn't press W, right? So literally, he's the front line. He's what everybody follows. And now the Shanghai Dragons don't have that. So, Iplay, I'm going to ask you this question just bluntly. How long until this team actually gets a win?
Ooh, man. So last season, I kept saying this is it. This is the season that Shanghai is going to get a win. But now, I don't know. I know that the team has been revamped. I know that they're coming in hungry, and they can't repeat the same as last season, right? If they don't get a win this season, I think it would be almost too weird, right? They're going for it, but now that they don't have a main tank, is like you said, what are they gonna do? Because now they're starting the season off pretty weak. A team that already has everything to prove, and almost nothing to lose, literally nothing to lose, because they've been the bottom of the barrel for so long. So I don't know. I'm already thinking that without their main tank, they're going to struggle, especially going against teams that already have seen them play, already kind of know what to expect. They're under new coaching as well, right?
Yeah, they've got I believe the Kongdu Panthera coaching staff came over with the bulk of the roster. So,
okay.
Yeah,
so I don't know, but it's what you said. Like, these teams already know that this is a thing. Last season, we had so many teams that lost their main DPS or lost their main tank and struggled for a little bit. Like Seoul Dynasty, they couldn't find that main tank spot and basically fell off the face of the earth. Yeah. So I don't know. They should already know better at this point that you have to have at least a backup for all of your main roles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to me. You know, you don't even necessarily, I mean, they do have backup off tanks and things like that, but I just don't understand why you're allowed 12 players and you pay, you know, how many $1 million to like get the spot in the league, and you're gonna just start getting cheap when it comes to signing players to contracts for, you know, 80 grand. Like, 80 grand is a lot of money. I don't mean to you know, scoff at the amount of money, but I mean, comparatively,
not for these organizations, yeah,
right.
not for like the amount of money that most of these organizations have.
It's chump change in the sports world, the contracts they have to pay out. So to me, there's team synergy arguments, things like that, but a strong managerial staff, a support staff, a strong coach can handle 12 players on the roster. I refuse to consider otherwise. If coaches don't want to go that way, that's fine, but just hopefully, you know, you don't have somebody that needs extra time to recover from a surgery in the off season or something like that. Didn't they know he was going? I don't know. It's just, this whole thing is just, it's the most Shanghai thing that could have possibly happened to start the season, you know, the start of season 2. And listen, I don't think we're talking about an 0-28 season here for no other reason than Fearless comes back. But now you're going to be way behind the 8 ball there, because your other teams are going to be just in the middle season swing. You're not going to have had your main tank and your scrims for how long? It's just a mess. And to me, until they have a main tank player and until I see them where they rank without one, I just have to throw them near the bottom. Like, I'm going to be doing my power rankings contest where I'm trying to predict stage 1 rankings. And honestly, I'm having a hard time keeping them anywhere but like 19 or 20 possibly. I would probably put my money on Chengdu at the moment. At least they just have people that play the role there. And I know chat really wants to point out there's people on the roster that played it in the past, but they're not playing it now. And there's just so much that's changed since then. and everything that goes on, just synergy with the team. What have they been doing to scrim this whole time without feeling like, I don't know, just the whole thing is kind of crazy to me. And I'm going to assume the worst until I see something to the contrary. They do have some maybe softer matchups in week 2 or week 3 where it's possible, but I don't see picking them basically until they win here. So we're basically back to that. Like Shanghai just feels unpickable to me and pick them. And much like the very first match of the week, we're just picking up right where we left off from last season.
I do wonder.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I do wonder how some of the selection process for these teams go. Like some of these coaches, how are they picking the teams where the players are coming into the rosters? Because sometimes some of the decisions are like, okay, you're adding another DPS. Like, so for example, San Francisco Shock last season, they kept just getting DPS after DPS after DPS, and it's like, what? I wonder what the logic behind that is. Why don't you want to cover your other roles or invest in high tier players that can cover your other roles? Do you want to go all in and kind of like the star players that you think are gonna carry you and neglect some of the other roles, or do you? I don't know.
Yeah. It's an interesting prospect, and I personally, if I'm going to figure it out about one team, this is probably the last team I want to figure it out about, because at least to date so far, they have been like the most dysfunctional organization that Overwatch League has to offer, from like recruiting scandals early in season 1, and just everything about the way they've handled things from the get-go has just been backwards to me.
And it seems like the most disorganized team compared to how the other orgs have been run. We almost got no content coming in from like inside that organization. Most of the other teams at least revealed like some insider footage of like where they lived and like a little profile on their players. Shanghai did some stuff, but very little. Or maybe it's just that I'm not in the right channels. Maybe they're promoting it in China or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they could just not be focused on the English speaking content for the time being. I really don't know, but you're not wrong in that respect either. You know, there's at least some effort for outreach from most of the other, you know, Korean or Chinese teams so far. And it doesn't...
with Seoul, I would see things all the time. Even like when they were doing like Korean made events, like you still hear about him, right?
Yep. And like Guangzhou and stuff, they put out videos and released in written English, that, you know what I mean? Things like that, like their roster announcements, things. I don't remember seeing those from Shanghai. I mean, like you said, maybe we're just not paying attention, because boy, do I not care about Shanghai announcements too much. But yeah, anyways, moving along to possibly the only other contender for most dysfunctional organization in Overwatch League. The Florida Mayhem have added to their coaching staff and have announced that SNT will become a coach as well, while remaining on the roster as a substitute. So now, what we have here is a main tank who benched himself to become a coach, an organization that was fine with it. Like, we don't know that he benched himself, but presumably he wanted to do it. And the organization was like, yeah, now's the perfect time while you're on our roster, while we need you for season 2. So now we're looking at a main tank change for this team. Theoretically, they knew this was going to happen, so I'm not going to sit here and say that I think their scrims were disrupted by this or anything like that. But so we're going to be looking at Swan, I believe, SWON is going to be their new main tank, and then SNT, formerly Awesome Guy, will be a coach, and then he will also be substituting. So it is possible you do see him. In the sense that I like backups here, and now they've kept the door open to maybe use the guy. This just is, to me, another very awkward move in a string of awkward moves made by this organization. Before I say too much bad about it, because in bare hands we trust is a mantra of this show that we firmly believe in. What are your thoughts on this move? Do you think it's a destructive one? Do you think it won't matter much? What are your thoughts on SNT becoming a coach?
So I have no insider information about this, but just from hearing about it, to me it sounds like he might have gotten dethroned. Like they might have done the investment. Like, this guy is an amazing main tank. Sounds like he has a lot of knowledge about the role, so much so that they want him as a coach. But to me, this sounds like he just didn't perform as much as the other guy, Swan, or whatever his name was that you said.
Yeah. Used to be, chat's helping me out here a little bit, but Swan used to be Butcher. He was in NA Contenders previously.
Gotcha. So yeah, maybe during scrims, the Reinhardt for Swan was just maybe overperforming, and maybe they realized this, but they realized that S&T maybe still had valuable knowledge and decided to make the change early on in the season. It does smell a little bit fishy though, because hiring a player and going through the whole process of the contract and then benching it and saying he's now going to be a coach. I don't know. That seems like backtracking yourself a little bit, right?
Yeah, like they're either overpaying for a coach or overpaying for a player, or I don't know, overpaying for a coach to me, because like either he's a backup and he's not drawing two salaries, but now he's got like two jobs. But I think what you said can't be discounted, that maybe this was just not a reactionary, just weird move, which is kind of what a lot of the Mayhem stuff has felt like. So maybe I'm a little predisposed to thinking that, but you could be very right that Swan kind of won the job, and this is how they're handling it going forward. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. You know, if Swan looks like just a beast and is absolutely going crazy, then I think there's a lot of credence to that. And honestly, until you said it, not really something I even allowed for the possibility of in my head, just because it's not Florida. It's not how Florida has been. They just seem to kind of like do whatever and figure it out as they're going. And but doesn't necessarily need to be the case. And you're very right to point out that it doesn't need to be a downside, because Swan is a decent prospect. And honestly, I was very not sold on Awesome Guy after season 1. So but last bit of news here before we get into week 1 and talk about all the different matchups and break them down here is just simply Wolf and Achilleos were added to the casting talent roster for the broadcast. So you'll be seeing an extra commentary duo on the broadcast this year. There's also a bunch of insiders and things like that were added as well. We're not going to go through the entire list. You guys will get to know them starting on Thursday when the broadcasts kick in. All right, Iplay, are you ready? We haven't been able to do this in a long time, but it's time. We're going to break it down here again. No drops, so I do apologize for that. They'll be back next week when Blevins is, but we're breaking down all of the week 1 matchups here. We're going to be starting things out as we did last year on the first day, which is Thursday this time, not Wednesday. And we begin where we left off. This is the grand finals rematch. We're going to begin with the Philadelphia Fusion versus the London Spitfire. Second go around, we're going to be looking at the maps of Ilios, Hollywood, Volskaya Industries, and Rialto. This is an interesting matchup to me because it's a great way to just get you right back into the swing of things. We're not looking at, you know, all these roster moves. We're not looking at an expansion team. We're just jumping right back into things with two of the best teams going toe-to-toe against each other. So, any thoughts on this game? Anything in particular you're keeping an eye out for, other than, I'll just say it, is Fraggy going to start over Sato? It's not likely, but in my heart still believes in the Beard and Fraggy. But yeah, what are you looking for in this matchup? And might as well go right into your pick.
I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm picking London. I think it's going to be a back and forth. But that being said, if London is playing like they play when they're on fire, they just play so good. And both other tanks, Gesture, and I'm blanking out on like the other Fury. Gesture and Fury just work so well together. Granted, we're going in a bit of a different meta. Last time we saw them dominate Philadelphia in the finals, they were abusing the Orisa Roadhog mechanics, which they can still abuse, but nowadays we're in that Goats meta, right? Which can deal a little bit better with that Roadhog, Orisa kind of deal. We have a lot of shields, you have speed boost, you're trying to rush them anyway, so if somebody gets hooked, it's not the end of the world, unlike what's happening with Winston and Diva and some of the other tanks that they were playing against. So I think the story is going to be a little bit different, and I think it's a matter of is London going to be on its game, right? Because we see two Londons all the time. The London that's invincible, unbeatable, and Birdring is just shooting everyone. They're unstoppable. And then we see the London that is just like, they just wake up out of a nap or something? What are they doing?
Yeah, and honestly, that's a little bit the case for both of these teams. just to fill you in, whenever I say old bad Philly back again, you got to do the Boys to Men thing. But yeah, no, we've joked a lot about the inconsistency of Philadelphia, and so this is a matchup that can absolutely go in either direction. Like you said, if either of these teams is hot and the other one's not quite up to form yet, with being the first match, this could be a landslide in either direction. You said you're taking London. Did you give your map score or no?
3-2.
3-2.
I think it's gonna be a back and forth. Yeah, it's not gonna be a roll away like it was in the finals.
And Iplay, you're filling in and guesting here, so I'm only going to shame Blevins for this, who also is taking London 3-2. You guys forgot about the cowards 3-0. I'm going London 3-0 here. Just hedging my bets across the board. We're starting the season strong. We're not playing Rascal. We're leaving him on the bench, just like San Francisco's gonna. And yeah, we're going with the cowards 3-0 here for London. I also completely forgot to get the fan numbers. I even put it in the notes. I said I would go get them. But we already have 3 people here. Otherwise, we might get into a tie scenario. So Blevins is going to be our coin for when we disagree. We'll get the fan votes plugged back in for you guys starting next week. So yeah, that is across the board. 3 picks for London, 3-2 for you guys, 3-0 for myself. The next match on Thursday, and again, guys, we got to go really quick with these because there's more matchups every single week than we had last year. So we've got to be on kind of a quick pace. So my apologies for that. The conversation is never ending in Discord though, so join that, and we'll talk about any of the matchups as in depth as you want to. The second match of the day here, or of the season really, is the New York Excelsior versus the Boston Uprising. It's a very classic sports rivalry here. We're looking at Color Hex serving game 1 of his 2-game suspension. There is no other DPS player on this roster for Boston, so Alamau or Axiom is likely to play DPS alongside Blase. They're probably the bench support and tank players when I look at things, and unless Fusions is around, who's also a tank player, it's going to be really, really rough for Boston. Hopefully they can lean heavy on a GOATS meta, use their extra tanks and supports to their advantage, not need a support out there if you're rooting for Boston to win. But the classic sports rivalry aside here, I play in the fact that Boston and New York will never not pull out all the stops against one another. Is this going to be even remotely close? And how is it possible that Boston ekes out a win here?
So I was going to say 3-0 New York Excelsior, but I ended up going with 3-1. I do think that New York Excelsior is going to take it. They are an established team. Their roster has been solidified almost in season 1. They keep improving. They keep getting better coaching. I think that they're coming out with a bang. They were already the top contender last team aside from the last stages. But that being said, I still think they were probably the strongest team towards the end. But that being said, Boston is in an awkward spot. They don't have the roster that they want to go in with. But I think that Boston had made a reputation of itself of being able to build a team with names that you are not immediately stricken with, right? Last season, we had Boston come out swinging right off the gates, and nobody really expected it to be that good.
We laughed at their roster announcement quite a bit last year.
Well, true. But what I'm saying is nobody had heard of the roster of Boston before, like they had from some of the other rosters, right? Like some of the other rosters were established teams, where this one were kind of like a mix of different players that were just known to be good.
Yeah. There's a couple of Toronto esports guys and like some good players on bad teams from the Korean scene was kind of how they built that out.
Right. I think they just have good management and they have good coaching, so they might surprise us with a win here, at least in one of the maps. But that being said, New York are just established giants. I don't see them conceding this game.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. Iplai's got it 3-1 in favor of New York, like you said. Blevins, of course, with the classic 5-0 for New York. I'm going to give it the 4-0 here. I'm not going with the cowards route. They listen, you can't even field a 2-2-2 roster if you wanted to. All the living arrangement, the beef, the unhappy player situation aside, that doesn't need to be even remotely true, I think, for Boston to be huge underdogs here. So I'm going to go with confidence and say New York gets the 4-0 to start things off and get the ball rolling for them here. We'll move ourselves along into the next game. We've got the Seoul Dynasty versus the Los Angeles Gladiators. Ripa from the Gladiators is probably a bench player, but either way, he'll be serving game 1 of his 5-game suspension. On the Seoul side of things, no suspensions, but we've got some new players. We've got the fissure effect. How does that impact this team? How big of a boost does having that, quality main tank play give them? Also, I'm very curious, is it going to be Toby or is it going to be Jexy for the main support? Toby's the boop god, but he had a rough year last year. We'll have to wait and see. Gladiators fans, keep in mind, Decay is still too young, but I'm very curious to see how Roar looks here. We know at least the mechanical skill of the main tank position in Fissure for Seoul. How does Roar stack up against that? That's really, really what I want to see. Probably matters overall for the season outcome, how Roar looks in that matchup, than I think actually winning or losing here. As far as maps, we have Ilios, Kings Row, Horizon Lunar Colony, and Route 66. Iplay, tell me who you got in this game and why.
With this one, I went with Glads, but with a very huge shadow of doubt. Like, honestly, I think that Seoul can get this. Seoul is a fantastic team, and you just can't discount the Koreans, right? Like, every time you get a full roster of Koreans, you can't just say, like, oh, I don't think they're that good, especially because they had time to recharge, right? Like, they've had time to go back home, be with their families, collect themselves. Ryu Jae-hong has a new haircut. I think he's, like, good to go, dude. So yeah, they're coming rejuvenated. I want to know what they've been working on. I want to know if their main tank issues have been solved for the season, because that's the main thing that we're struggling with last season, and kind of a team cohesion. They were just trying too many things. So I want to see if they've been able to sort those things out. But coming back from Korea, I think that these guys are just ready to fight. They've been training back with their kin.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you there, where I could see this one absolutely going either way. And I did try to check and see if the fan stats were up, and with the new layout and everything on the highnoon.gg site, I couldn't find them, and it looks like they might not be out yet. So it's almost fortuitous that I forgot, because it wasn't there for me anyways. But I think this one you could pick this one either direction. You picked it Gladiators 3-2. Blevins actually picked it Seoul 3-1. So I'm going to be the deciding vote here. I'm going to lean Gladiators very, very lightly, and in large part just because I think so much of the Gladiators remained the same, right? Like, just the support duo to me, where I don't know which support player's playing for Seoul. I don't know what their chemistry is like with Jae-hong, whether it's Toby or Jexy. If it's Toby, we can count on the chemistry not being a problem. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just, like I said before when we were talking about it, I want to bet on Roar for whatever reason, and maybe it's because I root for the Gladiators a little bit, but at the end of the day, I feel a little safer that they're going to remain kind of like a mid-table playoff team, the Gladiators that is, than Seoul will jump up and reach that level as well. So maybe Gladiators get on them early when there's still a little synergy problems. Fissure gets a little too aggro on a couple of times, a couple of occasions, and dies. I don't know. I could easily flip this one either direction. I'll take the Cowards 3-0 for the Gladiators, but moving on, we've got the last game for Thursday, and this is the Shanghai Dragons versus the Hangzhou Spark. Crystal is serving his 1-game suspension here, so who's going to be filling in alongside Godsby at the DPS core for the Hangzhou Spark is really one of the big question marks here. Also, how the heck does Shanghai manage this tank situation? Can they be adequate without a main tank on their roster? That's really the big question here. We're looking at Busan, Hollywood, Horizon Lunar Colony, and Rialto for maps. Iplaigames, who's going to be the first Chinese Overwatch League team to get a win?
That's a good question, but we already talked about Shanghai earlier and about having their problem with the main tank. They're already looking like they're a little shaky starting out. And Hangzhou has a lot to prove. I think that whichever it is, the first Chinese team to win, it's gonna get a lot of love. Plus, I feel like Hangzhou already has a big fan base only because of their colors and their kind of like marketing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like a lot of people want to see them win. I'm gonna give it to Shanghai though, only because they're the established team, and you're gonna see this kind of like echo through some of my picks. I think that having played in the league before and having that experience gives you a slight edge. I think that some of these new teams that are coming in have a lot to prove. But at least in the early season, I think that the established teams are going to have a slight edge. Whether that's going to matter or not, in the end, we'll see. But that's the only reason why I'm giving it to Shanghai 3-2. But I don't know. Hangzhou might surprise us.
Yeah, and listen, there's never a time when that experience matters more than this week, right? Like, it is going to be basically a diminishing returns on how much that matters going forward as we welcome the cat onto the stream. But yeah, listen, I just can't get over Shanghai doesn't have a main tank player, and maybe I'm overreacting to it. I would be calling this a 4-0 for Hangzhou. Man, I'm going to be screwing up just so many things saying those names with a 4-0. Yeah, it's brutal. I would be making this a 4-0 if Hangzhou was not an expansion team. If this was even like a mid-table season 1 team, I would say they were just going to easy clap them. But I've got to give this to Hangzhou. I don't see it as particularly close. They just have 6 players. They get to play their main roles, and to me that trumps just about everything when you're talking about the highest level of play. How many football teams would win games if they just plugged in their punter into the quarterback position? Like, it's not going to work. and whether Overwatch is a different animal, we'll find out on Thursday. But my head is my brain is still a football brain. So to me, that's just crazy talk. Yeah, give me 3-0 for Hangzhou, and Blevins has Hangzhou 3-1 here. So that rounds out Thursday here for us. We'll move right along into Friday. My day, I play. The Toronto Defiant, my number 2 team, is going up against the Houston Outlaws, my number 1 team. It is a brutal way for me to like debut my Toronto fandom, right? Like, the first time I see Toronto, who I want to be my second favorite team, and they're just going to be going up against my favorite team, the one team in the league that I will not be able to root for them for. Neko is going to be serving game 1 of his 3-game suspension in this game. So Aid or Rocky will be likely filling in from their main support role from the bench, moving on over there and playing off support. As far as Houston goes, there are a couple things I'm keeping an eye out here. Their support lineup, I don't think it's necessarily set in stone that it's going to be, any of the two as a combo. Banny is very flexible. He has the ability to play main and off support roles. I think Boink will likely be the Lucio. I just want like confirmation that it's going to be Raucus over there on the Zenyatta, because I think there's a non-zero chance that Banny is the Zenyatta player, so I'm a little curious about that. Obviously, we've got the addition of Dante into this roster. How do they use him, and what does the play time among the DPS players look like? And then Cool Matt or Spree, or maybe both. I think that's a really interesting question when you look at how prevalent Zarya is right now. You have to think Spree is going to be likely to play, but Cool Matt's the better Diva player, so it's going to be interesting to watch the dynamic of those two go back and forth. And then they've got it in this map pool right here for this one. So Nepal, Numbani, Volskaya Industries, and Route 66. I want to see Houston erase some of their bad maps from last season I play. I think it would be really important for them in order to just close out more match wins. They already had a very good map record, map differential from last season, but being bad on specific maps really hurt them at times, just getting wins they needed. So Route 66 is the one we can answer today. Is it any better for Houston? It seemed to get better as the last stage it was in went on for Houston, but yeah, we need to see if it's completely fixed. So I play. Who do you got in this one, and why?
This one, I'm going for the established Houston Outlaws, but then again, I'm doing it mostly because of seniority. Houston has been around the game for a minute. They're a mid-tier team. They're a very smart team. They play their strategies really well, but sometimes they fall a little bit short. To be honest, I don't know how Toronto is going to look. We know their players, we know their roster, but then we have never seen them play. So you can't make like a very informed decision about this one. And like I said, Houston being a mid-tier team, this could go both ways, because Houston could be having their day, or they could be playing a little shaky. They might be a little cold at the start of the season, but only because they have the experience of having played in the league before, and Toronto might be a little shaky coming into the stage. I'm going to give it to Houston.
Yeah, I've definitely got Houston here. I'm going to take them 3-1 as you did as well. I play. I'm giving Toronto the 1 because Route 66, but honestly, this probably should be a 4-0, just considering Neko's out of the lineup, and if main tank's not the most important position, as I was mentioning earlier, I think flex support certainly is. So Toronto's kind of similarly hamstrung here for 3 games while they cope with the loss of Neko and just try to make do. So I think that's a really difficult way to go about debuting yourselves, and you, like you said, I play the entrenched team, the team that's comfortable and been here should have an advantage, never more so than week 1. So I'm gonna give Toronto a map, but that's mostly just because Route 66 has been kind of an auto win for the other team against Houston. We'll see if that's fixed. Blevins, the consummate fanboy and troll, is taking Toronto 3-2 here. Not too crazy, like you said. I mean, it's a battle of a new team versus a mid-table team, so it's certainly very, very possible that we get surprised. I just can't see it without Neko. It's going to be pretty brutal. If this was a DPS player missing, then they could sub somebody out and get, but they don't have somebody there to substitute in this case. So definitely going to be an uphill battle, I think, for Toronto in that one. Moving on, it was my team. Now it's your team here. I play. We've got the Atlanta Reign versus the Florida Mayhem. Florida fans apply. Cannot play in this one. I don't think he was going to anyways, but he's got a 2-game suspension. This is game 1. But on the Atlanta side, we've got DeFran in action. Does he still have it? Did he lose a step? We got Kodak's prove it moment with Dogman waiting in the wings now, potentially threatening him. So Kodak, prove me wrong. Give us a good outcome here. And then Erster, there's been a lot of hype about him lately. I want to know, is that real? Is it fake? And on the Florida side, we've got Swan's debut. We've got Hago's new home. And is Tavik going to play? Are the big things that I'm keeping an eye on there in this one. So maybe not top table teams here I play, but there's a lot going on in this game and a lot to watch. Who do you like to win and why?
This one I'm going 3-0 for Atlanta Reign, and this one is mostly a matter of passion and desire. I'm rooting for my team here, so I'm just gonna go with the emotional pick. But that being said, I think that if Atlanta has a chance to beat any team coming in, why not beat the second worst team of last season? I think that Florida has some time to rebuild themselves, but have they improved that much? I don't know. I think that they should be scared of Tavik. I think that's going to be one of their main contenders there. But we do have the friend, which I would argue it's in a very similar level to Tavik, at least in DPS. Sometimes even edging him a little bit on the Tracer and the Soldier 76. So I don't know. This one is up in the air, and I definitely think that Atlanta has a really solid chance of taking this one.
Do you want to sign it off with a let's go, dude, before I give my prediction?
Let's go, dude.
All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to be taking Florida here 3-0, and the big reason why, like you said, this is to me a bit of a coin flip. I don't feel strongly one way or the other about who's likely to take this one. I think Atlanta's the roster that certainly has the higher upside and potential right now for this season, and it's an expansion team coming in, first time on the stage. It's just the wrong time to me. Like, if I'm Atlanta, I almost just want to get bodied by, like, New York right away. Like, just take me out, or, like, give me Shanghai without their tank, or something maybe a little more winnable than this. Listen, Atlanta fans, I'm not, calling you guys out, anything like that. I think you're probably going to finish better than Florida. I'm not picking you in this one. There's question marks all over the place, so give me the team that's maybe more likely to have a plan and just feel comfortable after they sit down in those chairs. That's the entirety of what flipped this one for me. And for what it's worth, Blevins is going Florida 3-2, which should have been my cue to pick Atlanta. But anyways, Dallas versus San Francisco is our next game here. We've got Violet serving game 1 of his 2-game suspension. We've got Smurf potentially starting over Super, and just play Striker and Architect. Forehead are the notes I have here for the San Francisco side of things. As far as Dallas, we've got Effect. He's still here. He hasn't left yet, I play, so they've still got him. So keep an eye out on that, because he's obviously always a highlight reel waiting to happen whenever he's in the lineup. I'm very curious, is Zachary going to actually play significant time, and how does he stack up to the other Overwatch League DPS players? And then on the off-tank position, RCK or Mickey. I don't know how either of them will stack up, but I also don't know which one of them is going to get the opportunity, so we will have to wait and see. Iplay, why don't you read the maps for this one and tell us who you like to win this?
Yeah, for Dallas Field versus San Francisco Shock, they're going against Nepal, Kings Row, Horizon, Lunar Colony, and Rialto. It's gonna be an interesting match. I think that Dallas is stopped being a bottom of the pack team as soon as Aero hit the team. They've made tons of improvements. I think that Effect in and of itself has had a lot of time to grow. I know that he's had a lot of things lifted off his chest during the last offseason and time that he took off. So I think he's coming in as a new man. I think he knows his mistakes in season one. And I think that the team knows what to watch out and how to take care of him this time around. I think Aero is a fantastic coach. And I think they're going to come out swinging out of the gate. I got to give it to them. I'm going to say 3-2 Dallas Fuel. San Francisco Shock is a strong team, but their roster hasn't changed that much. Their coaching hasn't changed that much, right? They're still fairly similar to what they were last season.
they made a late season coaching change to get Krusty from Boston after the undefeated stage from Boston. So
right, I remember that.
Definitely still figuring them out, but like you said, not a lot's changed, especially in this one because we're going to be looking at Sleepy and Moth on the support line instead of potentially Violet and Moth. I think a lot of people are expecting that. So definitely San Francisco won't be at their full strength. I'm still going to pick San Francisco, but it's really, really close, and that's why I'm going with the Cowards 3-0. I'm just, listen, I mean, it's going to be nice. This is why it's nice to have a backup, right? Because you can just plug Sleepy in. This team's used to playing with him. He was there all last year, so there's not going to be any huge system shock or anything like that goes on by making that substitution. It's not like plugging in a DPS player into flex support or something like that, like, potentially Toronto's going to have to do. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see this match play out. This is two teams that I think are on the rise, and we don't really know exactly where they stack up against one another. So this is really one of the first placement matches that we're going to be seeing, as we like to call them, where personally, I think San Francisco did a better job getting better over the offseason than Dallas, but they both did get better. So by how much? And now we're going to really see. Maybe RCK is better than I give him credit for, and that helps Dallas out. Even just the fact that like we both talked about, Effect is still there. He's a really strong player, and in an environment where the team is winning and succeeding, I think he can really get into some momentum. So maybe they're able to get that started right away. So yeah, I'm taking San Francisco 3-0 to break the tie. Blevins went San Francisco 3-1. Moving on, we've got the Chengdu Hunters versus the Guangzhou Charge. The battle of unanswered questions here I play is what I'm dubbing this one. The Charge are going to be telling us who their starters at support are. We don't really know exactly. We can project it till we're blue in the face, but we're going to just have them answer it for us on Friday. And I'm really curious with Guangzhou. We're going to find out quickly what their plans are with Nero and Kib. They're English speakers that don't really, feel like they're kind of out of place on the roster just because it's presumably they're coming in Korean. And so we don't know how they're going to be able to communicate with these two. I'm very curious to find out quickly. Maybe they're going to use them. Maybe they're going to leave them on the bench. And for Chengdu, I don't know if Jikarin is there. Or is this just a Meng's team for now? So I'm very curious to get that answer. And are the DPS up to snuff? Because I have some questions from Chengdu, and I think a lot of people do, and that's why we see them at the bottom of their power rankings for the most part. But Iplay, you tell us first, give us the maps, and then talk to us about what you're looking for in this one, because we don't really know anything about these two teams.
Yeah, this one, they're playing Busan, Numbani, Volskaya Industries, and Dorado. And to be honest, this is probably like the blindest pick I've ever done in my life. I went with Gangzhou Charge 3-1. But that being said, I know nothing about these two teams. I don't know their players very well. I've never seen them play together. So this one is really going to be a complete surprise for me. Like, whatever happens in this game, I have no idea. I'm going in with my expectations wide open. I don't want to make any judgment on any of these two teams. I want to know what their play styles are, and from there, I'll be able to kind of place them on like, okay, this might be their power level, but for now, they're a big unknown. I'm going for Charge just because I don't know, toss a coin.
It feels like a better constructed roster to me. I'll be taking the charge as well. So will Blevins. Me and Blevins are both with the Cowards 3-0s. Iplay had them 3-1. This is, to me, again, buying into the analysis from the people that pay a little closer attention to the Korean and Chinese scenes. Chengdu is just thought to be a little on the weaker side. So until they show me something, I'm going to kind of lean on that analysis for the time being.
Their panda is really nice, though.
Yeah, the logo's not too shabby. Moving into Saturday, though, we're going to start things off with the battle for Europe. London Spitfire versus the Paris Eternal. So the question is, I play much like we had earlier when in New York versus Boston, is this even going to be close? The true test to me, this will be the first true test of the Paris tank and support lines, which to me just aren't on the same caliber as the London team, though London certainly, they're known to start stages slow. And they're known to be a little inconsistent at times. We talked about him earlier. I didn't mention, Gesture's one of the best tanks in the world, but if he has a weakness, it's Reinhardt, and we're in a GOATS meta. So there's certainly an opportunity, maybe a window for Paris to surprise and overperform. We're looking at Ilios, Kings Row, Volskaya Industries, and Route 66 for the maps. I know who you're picking, but they don't. So tell us why you're taking this team here today for this game.
I'm going for London in this pick. Again, they're the established team. Not only that, they are the champions of the previous league, so you definitely can't discount London. I think Paris is a really strong team, and they're coming in with some experienced players. You got Soon and you got Shadowburn, which we have been playing not only at the highest tier level of Overwatch, but they have also competed in several World Cups. They have competed in a bunch of different games in the Overwatch League, in other tournaments even before Overwatch League started. So these are just exceptionally good players that have a lot of experience that they're bringing to Paris. So I don't think Paris is starting from scratch. I think that they have very confident players, and they are going to be a team to watch out for, mid-tier or above. I think that Paris is going to be really good. But that being said, they're coming in fresh. This is going to be their first real showdown in the arena. And London is such a strong team with such good teamwork that you're going to need like full power to really take him out.
Yeah, for my money, I think we all know I think basically the polar opposite as you do about Paris. I think they're underwhelming across the board, really, except for their coaching staff. I think their DPS line is adequate. I don't think it's special by any means, and I think they've weakened themselves across the board by region locking, except for a couple players that I do like that are around on the roster. I just don't see how it's well constructed enough for really just honest the right tier level to like belong in Overwatch League. And we're maybe not looking at a Shanghai problem or anything like that, but I said this in a fantasy draft this week. If there's a team out there that can go winless this year and pull a Shanghai, it's Paris. I just don't know that they stack up outside of their coaching staff.
Really, you think they're gonna be that underwhelming?
I don't see it across the board. I just don't like what they brought with them. I think region locking with themselves to Europe was just an awful idea.
I do agree that region locking might make yourself a little weaker in terms of the talent pool that you can pick, but they are coming in trying to prove something. And like I always make the allusion to soccer. For example, the last World Cup, and I feel so bad because I'm blanking on the name, but one of the teams, I think it was Romania, that made it to the freaking finals. And they were the most underdog team in the world. Like you would see them and they were like, yeah, these guys are not making it anywhere. But turns out that the team was made of the most like fully devoted players that were there to play as a team, as a family. They were not like playing in like Real Madrid and like all these like clubs crazy and then coming in together as superstars into their home team. No, they were just like locally good players, and they ended up making it super far into the tournament because they're fighting for that pride. You know what I mean? Like they're bringing home the prize, and I feel like there's an added level of what's the word that I'm looking for here? Like discipline and excitement when you're fighting for that. I don't know, when you're representing your country, when you're coming in like that. And a lot of these players have like that national pride. You can see it in them. Soon, you can see it all over his face. He loves France. So I don't know. Is this enough? Is that this secret sauce is enough to kind of like carry them through the tournament? I don't know, but I do think that it gives you an edge over teams that don't feel like they're representing their people as much.
I get that, but I bet you Shanghai felt that way about China going into last season. Washington versus the New York Excelsior is our next matchup. This is, to me, blowout central of the week. Janice and Wizard Hyung revenge game. We'll go through the motions here. Janice and Wizard Hyung get their revenge game right out of the gates. We're looking at Guido versus Fazix for who starts for the Washington Justice, and really Courier Stratus as well. I don't know that that's really set in stone. We will have to wait and see exactly who the starters are. And we also got to ask, because their additions, are they anywhere near up to this task? This isn't, can they hang it, hang an Overwatch League? Can they not embarrass themselves? Which is a question all the new additions need to ask themselves, and we'll have to answer this weekend. But this is, can you hang with the cream of the crop, the best of the best? Whether it's Guido or Fazix, how do you stack up to Jonak? It's not ambiguous anymore. This is specifically, you need to go toe-to-toe against the MVP of Overwatch League Season 1. They've got to do it on Ilios, Kings Row, Horizon, Lunar Colony, and Rialto. We know Blevins has the 5-0 easy clap here. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. I've got him 4-0. Iplaigames. Do you see any hope here for the Washington Justice?
I have it as 3-0, and I do think that New York Excelsior is going to take it. But that being said, Washington does have a secret weapon, and that is Wizard Hyung, dude. That's their old coach, the old New York Excelsior coach. And if anybody knows what's the weakness of New York Excelsior, is that man, because he actively was fighting to hide those weaknesses and improve them. So he knows how to get to Jonak. But like you said, one thing is to know how to get to Jonak. Another thing is to actually get to Jonak and kill him without him killing you. So, I don't know. That's why I'm still giving it to New York. Their mechanics are just so crazy good. They got such amazing players. But strategy-wise, I think that Washington might have some secret weapons up their sleeve.
Well, it's the perfect time to use them, because they would literally, I think, shock the world if they were able to pull out that one. I won't be holding my breath for it to happen. But like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing for Washington either. Like I just said, I think the best case scenario for expansion teams earlier would be to like go out there and just get waxed by the best team. Like nobody's expecting you to beat New York here. You can't disappoint your fans by losing to the best at this moment. Like it's your debut. So I think it's kind of like a no pressure but full pressure situation for Washington at the same time. I think it's not the worst way for an expansion team to start, because maybe later when they're more comfortable, when they're playing better, they've got easier opponents when the time comes. So but yeah, if you're feeling super spicy, you want to get out to that fresh start, you can always pick Washington here in the pick'em. And if you're right, you'll probably be the only one. Moving on, we've got the Los Angeles Valiant going against the Hangzhou Spark. This is going to be Crystal's first match, as he only had the 1-game suspension, so he will be back in time for this one. This is Kareev re-debuting as a DPS player once again, and our first chance to see how Izzyaki looks on flex support. The fan favorite Spark here, are they ready to take on the number 2 team from last season? There's a lot of hype behind Hangzhou right now, so I'm going to ask you, iPlay, on Busan, Numbani, Temple of Anubis, and Dorado, who's going to get the best of 4 win here?
You know, I don't think the pink shirts are going to be enough to carry them through this one. Valiant is a really strong team. They were a candidate for going up into the finals last season. They're playing at home. You know, Valiant is there in LA, so I don't know. I think that Hangzhou doesn't really have a chance against them. I think that Valiant is going to take it 3-0, but I've never seen Hangzhou play before, so
yeah, it's definitely tough to know. It could go either direction, and I think this would be a more interesting matchup to watch later on down the season when Hangzhou's leveled up a little bit and comfortable. I'm going to be taking the Valiant 3-0 with the Cowards 3-0 here, because power level alone, you know, like just player versus player, I think Hangzhou does match up a little bit, but they've got the I mean, Valiant are going to be comfortable here. Like, and it's really only going to be Izzyaki that's kind of new to the stage for them. Fate and Space is just a phenomenal tank duo. So is the tank synergy going to be the same from the Hangzhou side? I don't know that I really see that happening right out of the gates. Blevins, however, does see it happening. He takes Hangzhou 3-2. Moving along to wrap up Saturday, we've got the Vancouver Titans going against the Shanghai Dragons. This is Runaway versus Kongdu Panthera. We've seen this before. So, is it going to be close if Kongdu doesn't have their main tank? Now, Roar was their main tank before. They weren't going to have him no matter what. You get my point, though. And I really want to know, are there any surprises from the Vancouver lineup? We've been talking like we know exactly what they're going to do with their DPS players, everything like that. Show me more of the same, I guess, is what I want to just confirm it for me, if you would. That would be great, Vancouver. They don't really have much choice. They don't got a ton of backups, but we've got Busan, Hollywood, Temple of Anubis, and Dorado. Who you taking in this one?
I am actually giving it to Shanghai Dragons. I know that we've said it, plenty of Shanghai Dragons, but they have been working on their roster, and they're playing against a team that's coming in new. They've played before themselves as in other forms, so I think they know each other. And I think that this is going to be the game that Shanghai might be able to take.
Man, you got so much faith in them for not having a main tank player. I'm going with Vancouver, and I think this could have been close, and this would have been very close if Fearless was there. And I feel like we're being robbed of a really good matchup here, potentially, one that could have spoken volumes, maybe not about how to place these two teams amongst the other teams in the league, but respective of each other, at least this was a placement match. And now I just think Vancouver is going to run away with it. I'm not even big on Vancouver. I'm low on them compared to most people, but man, Shanghai, you don't have a tank, and I just don't see it. I think you're starting 0-2 again this year. Moving into Sunday, though, we've got, they're back again. 2 matches this week for me, for my Houston Outlaws, and they're going against the Boston Uprising. Buck Foston. Okay, so Color Hex is serving game 2 of his 2-game suspension. So again, we're looking at Elamau or Axiom coming in to play in a DPS role, or probably Goats. There's no other options. Chat was telling me they think Fusions is still in Europe. I didn't think he would be around. He's very clearly going to be part of their academy team, not their main roster, the way I see it. So, yeah, we're looking at Elamau or Axiom filling in there. On the Houston side, I really want to see them bully Boston on control. I think they need to flip this game mode this season in order to really perform significantly better than what they did last season. A performance like last season might be good enough for playoffs this time around with the play-in in, but you don't really want to leave it up to that, right? You obviously want to make your way in on your own and not have to be part of the play-in scenario. And in order to do that, I think Houston's going to have to flip the control game mode and take down Nepal from Boston here is a great way to show it. Yeah, just without the DPS player, and again, maybe Goats helps them out, but I don't know that Boston's really a favorite to be a good Goats team. They never showed the death ball capability in the past. Gamzu's notably weak on Reinhardt. This isn't like, I was talking about with Gesture, where he's maybe a little bit less good on Reinhardt than the rest of the tanks. This is like, no, Gamzu could just be bad on Reinhardt. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they handle a very death ball-y meta. But for now, I'm going to say Houston. I'm going to give them the 3-0. I'd give them the 4-0 just to stick at the Boston fans, but Hollywood was not a good Houston map last year, if I'm remembering correctly. It was only in one stage, a very small sample size, but again, it's very hard to pick Houston 4-0 until we see them erase those really bad maps that they had last season. And I think there's been enough time, and I think the addition of Dante helps with control, things like that. But anyways, it's Houston, so I could talk for I could do a whole show on the 2 Houston matchups every week. But Iplay, who do you got in this one, and why?
Just to keep it short, I'm also going for Houston. I think that their tank lineup is super, super strong, and going into like this GOAT style meta, they have an advantage over teams like Boston, which their front line doesn't seem as developed. Like you said, they have Spree, they have Buma, they have
coolest of mats.
Yeah, the coolest of mats. There's just super strong lineup to be playing in that kind of meta.
Yeah, if Houston can find a way to use all 3 of their tanks, I think they're going to be in a really, really strong position. in this meta, at least in stage 1. We'll have to wait and see exactly what the meta even looks like, though, because it's been a while and there's been some changes, and ranked hasn't figured out how to beat goats yet, but that doesn't mean the pros won't.
Goats Reaper.
Yeah, Roats, would that be? I don't know. Well, never mind. We're going back to my bold prediction where we stop calling everything goats. So we'll lead by example there. Moving right along here, we're gonna go into, man, it's my team and then it's your team all weekend long. We're gonna have to be hanging out these days. The next matchup on our list is the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Atlanta Reign. To me, this is Atlanta's statement game. I'm not sure they can hang with good Philly, but I'm wondering if they can, be good enough to just kind of steal a win here if bad Philly shows up. We're looking at Nepal, Kings Row, Volskaya Industries, and Dorado for the maps. These are your boys. You're picking with your heart still, right?
They are my boys, but I'm not picking with my heart in this one. My heart is not strong enough to go against the logic in this one. Philly is just a super strong team. They're a very relevant team, a team to watch out for, a team that might be able to make it into a top 4 at the end of the season this time around. So I love my ATL, but them being the new kid on the block, I don't think that they're going to be able to take Philly. I'm giving it Philly 3-2-1. But nothing would make me happier than for them to prove me wrong. Right.
Yeah, it's always tough picking against your team. Blevins did it with you, though. He went with Philly 3-1. I'm going Philly 3-0. I think Philly definitely wins this one. I don't think it matters which tank they play personally here. This is a team that I'm not sure has the upward ability to stack up with Philly yet. Certainly possible, but I'm not confident in it. And that, like we said, week 1, this is a new team coming in. Granted, it's their second match, but Philly's going to be in stage 3 mode already mentally, I think, by the time this match comes up, and Atlanta's still going to be getting acclimated and getting everything figured out. So give me Philly. I just don't know if it's going to be 4-0, 3-1, 3-2. Could be anything. Atlanta's definitely got enough talent to surprise anybody and take maps. So moving on, we've got the San Francisco Shock going up against the Los Angeles Gladiators. Ripa's on game 2 of his 5-game suspension, and Violet will be serving the last game of his 2-game suspension in this one. Both of these teams have made big and popular moves. They're the 2 teams that people are moving more than others in their power rankings this year compared to where they finished last year. Neither team can use all of those pieces yet, so really what I'm watching in this matchup personally is the main tank battle. Presumably they're both new additions. I think Smurf's going to start over Super, especially in this Reinhardt Goatsy meta. It could definitely still be Super. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Roar versus Smurf to me, if it happens, will be absolutely great to see. Roar is very highly thought of. I think Smurf is people are a little less confident in, but would probably get confident in a quickness if he's able to bully Roar around. And if it is Super, this might be our first real chance to see like extensive Reinhardt play from him, and I really want to know if it's as good as it was pre-Overwatch League. And the last thing to watch is the Moth Sleepy duo. Are they as good? Can they keep up with Shaz Big Goose? Talk to me about the maps and who you like to win this one.
This one, they're going into Ilios, Hollywood, Horizon, Lunar Colony, and Rialto. I'm going with Gladiators. San Francisco Shock is a good contender, but I'm just going based off of what we saw last season. And both of these teams, they remain kind of the same. Some parts have shifted, but I think that the core of the teams is still there. So I think that, I don't know, at least I think that their power level with relation to each other is going to remain the same. And Gladiators definitely had an edge over San Francisco Shock for the most part last season. They even ended up quite a bit higher than them in the overall ranking. So I'm going to give it to Glads 3-0 for them.
Yeah, I'll be taking the Cowards 3-0 as well, and Blevins has the Gladiators winning 3-1. For me, it's about, everything else is kind of iffy. I would give an edge in the DPS game to the Shock. I would give an edge in the tank game to the Gladiators at the moment until we know exactly what's going on at least. So to me, it's Shaz and Big Goose versus Moth and Sleepy. I'll take Shaz and Big Goose against almost any other support duo you can throw at me in a contest among support duos. And that takes us to our last match I play. We almost did it. We're almost there. We've got the Seoul Dynasty versus the Dallas Fuel. I mean, let's just call this what it is. This is the two biggest disappointments from season 1 squaring off in
harsh.
I mean, it just is what it is, right? This was, I think, 2 and 3 on my power rankings, and these were where did they finish? You know, it's crazy how far they fell compared to where we thought they'd be at the start of the season. They're trying to avoid a very similar start here to how things went for them last year, and ironically, they played in this exact same scenario. I think it was the last match of the first week of the opening season. It was Seoul versus Dallas, and it was honestly probably like the last important match that the Dallas Fuel played on the entire season. So it's hard to think of anything as like must win or super important in week 1. But again, the season's, as far as number of games for these teams, almost half as long. So it matters that much more. And we saw how important it was last season for these two teams. So that's going to be the question. They've made significant changes to their roster. So basically both of these teams are in a prove it scenario. I think the winner can really use some momentum. I believe both of these teams play earlier in the week. So if either of these teams are, or, you know, let's say both of these teams come in 1-0, right? And they've both got the win. A win here would be huge in momentum to kind of erasing last season, and getting off to a fast start would just be absolutely huge. But they also could very easily both be 0-1 coming into this matchup. And then we're looking at the exact opposite scenario. So I think almost no matter what way this plays out, and no matter what the records are when they get here, this game is going to be big and have big emotional swings for these teams as a result of this matchup. I think an absolutely phenomenal way to end the opening week. So shout outs to the schedule makers for kind of seeing that and just running this one back at the end of the first week. But yeah, I'm completely uninvested in this matchup. I have no love for Seoul. I have no love for Dallas. In fact, not no hate, but like just that rivalry with Houston makes me want to put down Dallas a little bit, you know? So I'm like completely uninvested, and like I'm terrified going into this game because it could really do a lot of damage or really lift a team up, depending on what we're looking like coming into it. I don't mean to oversell it, but I just think this one is kind of our match of the week here as we look at it.
I see your point. I see your point, especially for like these two teams that really want to prove themselves. I mean, Seoul, like you said, they were the big giants last season, and they ended up being like bottom of the barrel towards the end. Like basically every team was beating them at that point. Except for Shanghai Dragons, of course. But Dallas Fuel, I feel like they had a rebirth at the end of last season, right? They were like the Phoenix. They were just defeated, just thrown into the ashes, and Arrow just comes out and basically rebuilds this team, and they actually start having a really good season. So, one, there's going to be a big game for Seoul to just prove, like, hey, we are back to our Korean overlord self, and the Western teams have nothing to do with us. Or this could also be their chance of Dallas Fuel to say, listen, I don't care you guys been training. I don't care you guys have been rebuilding. We are strong enough. And I do think that Dallas is going to come out looking like a very strong team this season. I think that they have a lot of potential that they showed last time, and they work really well in this kind of meta. They have great coaching. Effect is back in full swing. So, I don't know. I'm giving it to Dallas 3-2, but I'm saying 3-2 because I think it's going to be very back and forth, both teams trying to prove themselves.
Not because you're picking Dallas to win here. I think a perfectly sane person would do that as well. I just think you've been spending too much time with Bob.
Bob maybe has rubbed up a little bit on me.
The burn blue optimism that's coming off of you reeks of Bob, and I don't know. I just needed to point it out that I think Bob is poisoning your mind. No, everything you said is right. I'm just a little less confident, right? Like in stage 4 last year, how did you not be right where you are about Arrow, right? Because it just looked like he joined, they flipped, and everything kind of took off for them. And then the World Cup happened, and it seemed to me like a coaching failure or like a roster failure. And so I'm not saying, listen, it's World Cup. I'm not saying they even care.
And to be fair, World Cup is you make one mistake and you're out.
You're done, right? And these guys might have come in like, this is like our all-star game, and this is going to be fun. Like, let's scrim with this group for a little while. It gives me an excuse to hang out with Moth, and you know what I mean? Like, it could have just been that for these guys. We don't really know. and we never will know. But one thing we can know is we can see how Arrow, approaches this season, and now he's got Jane there with him. I like a lot of what Dallas did on the coaching staff side of things, but I'm just not sold yet because that World Cup planted that seed of doubt in my mind. I think this could go absolutely either direction. I don't feel strongly in this one. We've talked a little bit, me and Blevins have, about like the fissure effect, and maybe it's actually a negative, right? Like this guy benched himself from the playoffs when his team got there last year, and like, when does he decide he doesn't want to play this time? And you know what I mean? Like, just that attitude doesn't have to be can be a negative in a locker room, and it's not always all about mechanical skill. If it was, fissure would have been a no-brainer. This is absolutely helping Seoul, but it's not quite that. So I'm going to give it Seoul 3-0. Blevins is going to break the tie with Seoul 3-1. So sorry, Bob, but we'll maybe we're wrong this time, and then next week we're giving you guys a little more credit when it comes to rankings. But nonetheless, that wraps up the week. So we made it. iPlay. We got through a week preview. It's been months since we've had to do it. Big thank you to everybody that listened in. We're going to get the coin back next week when we don't have an odd number of predictions made, and then we'll get the fan vote back in as soon as that's up on the platform as well. We know you guys liked both of those things, so let us know which one of these matchups would you call like your flip of the week. What's the one that you're really think we got wrong in our predictions? Let us know in Discord, or you can tweet at us at High Noon Podcast. iPlay, before I sign us off here, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter and what other shows you do, things like that.
Yeah, if you want to find me personally, you can look me up on Twitter at Iplaigames. You spell that APLAI Games, or you can find me talking in my other shows, Ominic Lab and OWL Recap, which I will be doing my return next week.
All right, well, that wraps things up. Thank you so much for filling in for me as we had to let the Blevins do the community countdown. Hopefully you guys are getting to watch that on the other monitor. Hopefully Blevins is doing us proud. I'm sure he is. But for the Blevins who was absentee, for Iplaigames, for Blaze and Bob, who we picked on a couple times in this episode, for everybody in the High Noon family, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the games this week. We will be back next week. Don't forget to set your pick'ems. Don't forget to get your power rankings submitted. Don't forget to set your fantasy lineups. And don't forget to watch Foul Play on this channel immediately after this. Thank you guys so much. And remember, it's High Noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way.